They're all upset today about this 2012. That the world's going to end on December 21st of 2012. That's nothing to do with the church. These were Indians who lived in 600, 700. Europe existed in 600, 700. They had paved roads. They were civilized people. These people hadn't invented the wheel. And we're taking it so seriously as if everyone in the world was stupid except these people. And we tend to think that those people who founded the church were stupid. Who built the church, who made the church grow. We talk as the church as was founded by Jesus Christ, spread by the apostles, and preserved by the saints. And if we are not in communion and historically accurate with what was always believed and what is believed today will always be believed, we are outside the church. When we sin, we find ourselves outside the church. When we disregard the church, we find ourselves outside the church. And it's dark and lonely and scary out there. To rely only on our own wits to survive in the world is a terrible, terrible thing, because none of us is smart enough to do it. None of us is able to, well, I'm sure there's a few of us, maybe in this room even, but I know if I were to be airlifted to Wyoming and told to survive, I could never do it. That's why we live in societies. That's why it's easier to save ourselves in the church. Because it's a society of believers. It is the society of believers. It is the family of believers that the church is. And always has been and always will be. Until the end of time. It is holy. Because it was founded by Jesus Christ. If we are Christian, we believe that Jesus is the Son of God. The church is holy because it was founded by Him. Certainly there were unholy people in it. There are unholy people today in it. Doesn't mean the church is unholy. It means that the church seeks to sanctify us, and we haven't accepted it. We get bored in church because we don't see that which is holy. Because we fail to see and accept that which is sacred. We don't appreciate the greatness that this church is. We think it's a Russian thing. Or the Greeks say it's a Greek thing. And the Ethiopians say it's an Ethiopian thing. And wherever you're from, it's our thing. And a great mistake is thought, I have been told that I don't have to go to church because I am XYZ nationality. I grew up with that whole mentality. I'm saved, I'm Ukrainian, or I'm Russian. I was told not long ago, I don't have to believe in anything, I'm Serbian. It's amazing. People drag the church down to human levels and think that we're entitled to be members of the church. We are privileged to be members of the church. It is an honor to be baptized in the church, to be received as a son or daughter of Christ. It's not a birthright. It's something people died for, that privilege. The martyrs suffered for this. How many thousands of people died in the Soviet gulags because they just wanted to wear a cross around their necks? And were dragged off. Our own flesh and blood, our own relatives. This happened to. How many of our grandparents died in the frozen wasteland of Siberia because of a cross around their neck, or because they were caught praying, or because they saw going to church or talking to a priest? It's worth dying for. The church is worth it. And it can be proven historically and theologically that it is one the same from continually. It's not something that people have made up. It is holy. In the Indian Orthodox Church, you take your shoes off before you enter church because it is sacred ground. We've all watched Halloween shows, and witches and stuff can't go into cemeteries because it's sacred ground, consecrated ground. What does that mean, consecrated? Dedicated to the service of God, or dedicated to something. Not necessarily God. But when you consecrate something, when you dedicate something, you dedicate it to something. To a being, or to an organization, or whatever. And the church is consecrated ground. It is blessed. It is holy ground. It is something where God exists. And when we leave here, our churches, our homes become a part of the church. So we have icon corners. We have prayer books. We have things that we do in our house to keep us in the mind of prayer, in the mind of the church. We do things at home that extend the church, so that from each one of us, a piece of the church goes to all over the world when we travel. The church is holy and stays with us. The church is holy and makes us holy, if we'll only let it make us holy. But we want to be disobedient children. We want to have our own way. And so we start to think of ways that we can sneak around or do things, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, I remember doing it as I still remember doing it. I'm currently doing it. We're all trying to get away with something, because it's hard to fast, it's hard to pray, it's hard to do these things, but it's much easier here, being a member of the church, than it is trying to save your soul out of the dark COVID. It's much easier living in a society than it is living in the middle of Wyoming by yourself and trying to find and build your own shelter, find your own food and water. I know one guy that can hunt and actually skin an entire animal and fillet it up and make it into something edible. I know a lot of people who can kill it, but they take it to a butcher. I know one guy that can do it. I don't know anybody else can. It's a talent. But if I had to go find my own food, I'd suffer. I'd starve to death. Our dogs would starve to death. Our dogs have no idea how to catch anything for food, really. Most dogs, according to scientific evidence, if we were to all disappear, would just sit there and wait to die. Because we live in societies. And dogs live in packs. And the human being has become our pet's pack. And the church is a society, and we save each other. We help each other. Because the church helps us. And it's dark and lonely and scary out there. It's very hard to exist with only a piece of the church. But what a glorious gift is the church. Something that should be treasured. Because we've seen it go away. We've watched it go away in Turkey. Constantinople, one of the greatest city of Christendom, is nothing. It's a sand trap. The great Hagia Sophia is a mosque. It can go away, but the gates of hell will never destroy it. It can be limited, but it will never, ever disappear. Even during the darkest days of the Soviet Union, it still existed in the Russian soul. And as soon as the Iron Curtain came down, what grew up? The church. Because the church was the Savior of everyone, and is the Savior of everyone. It cannot be destroyed, and it will not be destroyed. But we don't respect it. We don't honor it. We don't protect it. Because we want to do our own thing. We want to be our own people. And certainly the church, because of its love, allows us to do that. We don't have to fast. We don't have to pray. We don't have to do anything. We have to go to church on, we have to receive communion on Easter. That's what we have to do. But we also have to go to church every Sunday. We also have to go to church every holy day. There's a lot more to it. But in the actual rule of belonging to the church, all you have to do is go to church and receive communion on Easter Sunday. Period. That's it. And go to confession sometime before that. That's your only physical requirement to be a member of the church. But it's not the physical requirement to save yourself in the church. Because there are many things that we do. I don't feel good today, I'm not going to go to church. I don't feel good today, I'm not going to do this. It's raining, I don't feel like doing this. It's too much snow, it's too cold, I can't find my socks, I don't know what's going on. It's a fight to find the kids' jackets. It's always, the devil will try to do everything possible to keep us away from church on a Sunday or a holy day because he can. And because we're weak. And we all struggle with it. We can put the kids' Alex's school closed out on Saturday night after vigil, and Sunday morning they're gone. I don't know where it was. I have no idea. I didn't see him. It's amazing. Or you have